Welcome back. We've been talking a lot about data accuracy, the intelligence in the data. Today, let's talk about the cost of data. How much should you be spending depending on the percentage of sales and marketing spends? Obviously, the more accurate the data, the better the outcome. Even if you're paying a little more for consistently better accuracy, you are better off from an outcome perspective. The best way for you is to sample a little bit of data wherever you get it from and see the use case whether you have better response rates. Now you have a lot of options, different vendors from all over the world who can provide you data. So let's go through a few formats first. There are a lot of third-party platforms who offer you SaaS-based subscription platforms. Typically, you pay for user licenses, essentially how many people are concurrently going to use the data platform. Of course, you get unlimited access to all the information on the platform, but you might be limited by how much data per month and per user that you can download. Therefore, you might sometimes end up buying more licenses than you have adequate use, others that typically are not even completely using the license, and sometimes oversubscribing the licenses because you need a large quantum of data. But whatever the reason, if you're still going for a subscription platform, be careful about a couple of things. First, what is the renewal criteria? Often it is embedded in the fine print that there are auto renewals and yearly increases in rates. These are things that you should be aware of and make sure that you don't fall into these traps. The other aspect is some platforms charge for additional features. So if you have contact data, sometimes they might charge you more for market signals and buyer intent. But these are restrictive because they might say that you get lesser intent signals than you can get contact data. So be very sure the extent of technographic, firmographics, buyer intent, and contact information that you need. And finally, from a platform subscription perspective, there are few key things as we had talked about earlier. Make sure that the platform, the data that they have, they do real-time validation checks. If you don't know what the validation periodicity is, go and ask them how often do they renew their data accuracy. Some companies don't provide you with mobile reachability checks or the DND status. Now the DND status, as you know, is the do not disturb status. There are some countries which don't give you access to mobile data because they are on the DND platform, but you have to therefore think about new subscription platforms or new outreach channels for them. And finally, you must also check whether these data service providers are giving you this entire package as a subscription or as a curated cost. Now, the rates of data vary differently in different markets. In some cases, you might get data as less as 10 cents from a dollar perspective, and there are others where you can even pay more than $3 to $4 depending on what you're looking for on a per contact basis or a per account basis. So therefore, try to figure out for the total quantum of data that you need for your current use case, how much are you expected to spend? And if there is a way for you to reduce it. If you find service providers who only charge you for the data that you download, which is essentially the curated data, whether you've done it through your own subscriptions or filters that you have put into the subscription platform, or you ask the data service provider to provide you the curated data, that's the most accurate measure of how much you're going to spend. If you have some foreknowledge of how much outreach you're going to do through various programs, and for that how much net new data that you need, of course, that will give you a better idea of what your cost of data will be. Last but not the least, when you're looking at data, you will find that the percentage of data cost is always a fraction of the total cost of the sales or marketing outreach. So therefore, the outcome of your outreach platforms and the response rates that you get is very much dependent on the quality of data, which directly is proportional to how much you're spending on it. Spend more wherever you have higher accuracy. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. In the next episode, we'll look at the overall consent and subscription platforms that you need to have, as well as data privacy issues. Stay tuned. Thank you.